Happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking some tropical weather today. We're tracking the potential for hail and some high wind speeds, and then tomorrow we throw in that tornado risk. So we have a little bit of everything on the forecast for today. Whereas we were seeing those colder and soggy conditions last week, we have some more weather to talk about this week. Things are beginning to get a little bit more active. All right, so today we're watching the eastern Atlantic for a tropical wave that is likely to turn into a tropical storm over the next 4 or 5 days. We'll talk about that. Tomorrow, we've got a severe weather set up in Kansas. So we're up in the northern plains today in places like Iowa and Minnesota. Tomorrow, we head down into Kansas and Missouri, where we have hail, wind, and a tornado threat. And it stays soggy for many people across the U.S. where we have that excessive rainfall outlook. It's pretty impressive with a lot of green across the area for potential flash flooding for a good portion of the U.S. So we'll talk about where we're expecting to get those flash flood hazards over the next few days. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at your 24-hour storm reports. Nothing too terribly impressive over the last 24 hours. We did see some strong wind speeds up in places like Wichita yesterday. As those tracked down into Oklahoma, they really lost a lot of their oomph and they started to weaken across the Oklahoma-Kansas state line. Now moving on to what we're expecting for today. So your severe weather outlook for today, we've got that marginal risk, which we'll talk a little bit more about, up in Iowa and Minnesota today. Tomorrow we come down into places like Kansas, including Kansas City, Missouri, most of Missouri just to the west of St. Louis, and then most of Kansas as well. So we go all the way into central, even portions of western Kansas there. By Thursday, we go off to the east where we have another marginal risk. So we'll talk about it here. We've got several areas for strong to severe storms on the docket this week, a little bit more active than what we saw last week. We right now have a low pressure system sitting across Oklahoma with a cold front extending out into Texas. What this is going to do is it's going to keep it pretty rainy across the state for today. It's going to be one of those hit and miss shower days. Now, it's not going to be severe storms in this area, but some people will get rain and some people will stay dry. We woke up this morning and we said, hey, we don't have to water the flowers this morning. We got that lucky rainstorm. You move farther up to the north and you do have some rain coming into places like Minneapolis right now. Widespread to scattered showers and storms are starting right now, but I think that severe risk will increase later on today as that front continues to push down to the south. But right now it's hanging up in North Dakota and right along the North and South Dakota state line. We've got pretty dry conditions off to the north and east. A few little showers in the southeastern portion of the U.S., but really most of our focus today is across the plains. Now you'll also hear us talking about the southwest, and that's for some flooding issues that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. For the most part, we are still feeling that fall-like weather. How nice has it been to feel that fall-like weather, or are you missing the summertime temps? Those who are getting summertime temps are all the way down in southern Texas, southwestern portion of the U.S., and a few of our other western communities. Now let's go into that hail risk today, because that hail risk is a lot more promising in places in the northern plains, and then tomorrow that'll shift down into Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. So let's go up to the northern plains first. What you're watching for here is you're watching for areas highlighted in orange and red to be your larger hailstones. And if we zoom down here, what you can see is that we don't have a ton of orange on the radar right now, maybe a little bit trying to sneak through this afternoon and evening, but for the most part, it's going to be hard to get that hail today. So for your largest hail size, I'm telling you, it's going to be isolated. If we do get anything large today, it'll be very isolated up to the size of a golf ball. Most of these storms will not produce large hail. Most of them will produce smaller hail. But if we could see that larger hail, I'm going to put that on the west side of this system. So Minneapolis, smaller hail up to the size of $0.50. Sioux Falls, that's where you're going to get the larger hail for today. I think that we could see a few scattered showers and storms that will stretch anywhere from Sioux Falls all the way out to the east and up to the north into places like Minneapolis, just along the cold front. So what we're watching for here are those more isolated storms that are riding right along or in front of the cold front. I have a moderate, a level 2 risk for strong to severe storms in this area today, or a level 2 risk for larger hail in this area today. Aberdeen, South Dakota, you're getting some rain right now, but most of that will most likely stay non-severe. Now let's talk about the wind risk in this area. Strong wind speeds, 65 to maybe 70 miles an hour, are possible anywhere from Sioux Falls all the way up to Minneapolis. Again, later on this evening into the overnight hours. My timeline for this is 5 to 10 o'clock tonight, and we'll get into timeline here in just a minute. What about the tornado risk? It's pretty low for today. No significant tornado risk today. However, that does change tomorrow. So if you're in places like Kansas City, Missouri, if you're in places like Kansas, Missouri, or Oklahoma, we could have a tornado risk for you tomorrow, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. I want to stay with today first. So let's go to this area. I've got it circled right here. You'll be able to see that in a few minutes. My timeline for today is 5 to 10 o'clock this evening. For the most part, these severe storms will be pretty isolated. Your largest hailstone up to the size of a golf ball, but probably no larger than that. And we could see wind speeds between 65 and 70 miles an hour. Now I have that area of strong to severe storms highlighted here in red, but we're going to get rid of that circle and we're just going to focus on the timeline right here. Here we are at about 5 o'clock this evening. We've already got storms on the radar. But that's when the severe risk goes up. So these scattered showers and storms, while it's going to make your commute in Minneapolis very, very messy, it's going to bring rain down. Pockets of heavy rain are possible at times. What we're really watching for are these isolated storms that are hugging that cold front. That is what's going to initiate those larger hailstones anywhere, again, from just to the west of Minneapolis all the way down into places like Sioux Falls. Watch for these little isolated storms that are away from this line of storms. Now, as we get a line of storms later on into the overnight hours and into late tonight, we're talking 10, maybe 11 o'clock, it's going to turn into more of a wind event. But I do think as we pass over from midnight into early tomorrow morning, our severe risk is going to go down. Still some lingering showers and storms early tomorrow morning, so again, watch for that morning commute. It could be a wet one. Now let's talk about Minneapolis. We're going to start to really zoom into some of our very specific cities here, which is why we always tell you, let us know where you're watching from and we can help you out with the forecast in your area. We talk about a lot of different states, so we can't cover every single city, but if you let us know your city, we're pretty good about going back and talking about the forecast in your area. So let's talk about Minneapolis. We're really focused on hail in Minneapolis. It's a pretty low chance. I have that highlighted in green. Your chance for 1-inch size hail, pretty low. Max hail size in this area, maybe up to $half size, but again, I think that's a very, very low chance for today. And your chance to get up to golf ball size hail, also very, very low. Your timeline here, again, you could see isolated showers and storms pop up throughout the day. You should get a chance for a break between like now. I know you got rain this morning. You've got a break right now. You're going to see more showers and storms around the evening commute. So it's going to make for a wet evening commute. It's going to be a wet evening. And then finally, by about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight, you're going to get a break once again. So you should be able to go to bed tonight not worried about the severe weather in your area. But between 5 and 10 o'clock, I want you to be weather aware for high wind speeds, 65 to 70 miles an hour, and some larger hailstones, quarter to $half size. Alrighty, moving on now. Whoa. Okay, after this cold front comes through, Minneapolis, your temperatures go way down. You're sitting in the 70s for today, but after that, you enjoy the rest of the week in the 60s with overnight lows dropping down to the 40s and 50s in some places. Yes, it feels like fall in Minneapolis after this cold front passes through, and then we finally warm back up early next week. Let's move down from Minnesota and then let's go down to the desert Southwest. Now, the desert doesn't feel like it this week. While we're still warm in this area, we've got multiple rounds for showers and storms as tropical moisture surges through this area. Look how much rain we've got on the radar here, mainly this afternoon and evening, starting to clear up overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. But a lot of this tropical moisture comes surging from a tropical storm that's farther down to the south. So just off the coast of Mexico here, we have a tropical storm, and you're going to see it come into, right, let's go forward, You're going to see it right there. Okay, you can kind of start to see the formation of that tropical storm. I'll highlight that for you. Here's your tropical storm, Lorena. This is going to continue to track to the north and just hug the coastline with some stronger winds expected, especially as we go up into some of these peninsulas right here. Eventually, as we head into the weekend, that's going to bring some really nice moisture into areas in the desert southwest. Now, I say nice moisture, but it could cause some flooding as well. While we have a flooding risk for today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, we're probably going to keep that flooding risk around all the way through the weekend as that tropical storm continues to move into the U.S. Now, of course, it's not a tropical storm as it moves into the U.S., but it's carrying all of that moisture that's going to cause all of that flooding. Moving on to talk about Kansas for tomorrow. So Kansas and Missouri are in the storm risk for tomorrow. We're talking about a level 2, a slight risk for storms from the central to eastern portion of Kansas into portions of central Missouri. Now, an overview, a national view of your storm risk tomorrow shows you that you've got rain for a good portion of the U.S. But I'm going to zoom in right into this area that we've got that severe risk, right? We've got that level 1 highlighted there in green and that level 2 highlighted in yellow. One more zoomed in view of this. Now let's take that storm risk off of the map and let's just focus on the timeline for tomorrow, because what you're going to see is you're going to start to see right along I-70 a line of storms forming as it continues to track to the south and east as that front pushes through this area. Very similar to what we're seeing out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Iowa today, we're going to see a very similar thing happen in Kansas for tomorrow. The difference here are the main hazards that we're watching. For tomorrow, we're watching for a tornado threat, large hail, and a high wind threat. All of those threats a little bit more intense than what we see today. So I'll be quiet while we watch the timeline here. 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow, we're watching from isolated to scattered showers and storms, stretching all the way along I-70 and then down the Flint Hills into places like Kansas City and Wichita. We've also got storms stretching a little bit farther back into places like central Missouri. Now we're keeping St. Louis out of this. However, we do have Springfield included in that shower or maybe even strong storm risk by late Wednesday night. Now this is all along a cold front, so what you're going to be waking up with on Thursday morning are cooler temperatures across Wichita, Kansas City, and some of those cooler temperatures finally moving into the northern portion of Oklahoma. Finally, by Friday, we're going to have better chances for colder weather all the way down into central and southern Oklahoma and Arkansas, and we'll talk about that later on in the week. But I want to go back to tomorrow's storm risk. So we do have a hail risk for tomorrow. Your larger hailstones are most likely to be anywhere from the central to southern portion of Kansas, maybe stretching as far north as Topeka, Kansas. Your largest hailstone here, I would say about ping pong ball size hail for those areas highlighted there in orange. I know we go up to golf ball size hail here. I brought it down just a little bit. I brought it down to ping pong ball size hail. You go into places like Kansas City, your hail sizes are probably going to be a little bit smaller. We call this pocket change hail. You've got your pennies, your nickels, your dimes, and your quarters. High winds are also going to be expected for tomorrow. I think we're going to get a little bit more detail on this tomorrow for the forecast tomorrow, just as we get a little bit closer to the system. So I have us all in the low risk right now, highlighted there in green. Anywhere from Woodward to Wichita, Kansas City, Jefferson City, just to the west of St. Louis for strong wind speeds, 65 to 70 miles an hour. And we even have a tornado risk, or at least we did have a tornado risk. All right, did the SPC take that off in the time it took me to make this forecast and get on air here? Let's go to the computer, which I have just off the side of the screen over here. You can see my computer set up. And do we have a tornado risk? So brand new information coming in from the Storm Prediction Center. They have taken off the tornado risk for tomorrow. Excuse me. Excuse me. They've taken off the tornado risk for tomorrow. However, they have increased the hail risk. And if you're familiar with how the Storm Prediction Center does their storm risks, they've now hatched that hail risk for tomorrow, bringing some larger hailstones into Kansas City. So it does look like I need to update my hail risk for tomorrow as well with the newest information. That's what happens sometimes whenever we make these forecasts a little bit early in the day, and then things change as we get new information. So we'll take a look at that. Of course, we'll have the most up-to-date storm risk for you for your forecast at noon tomorrow. Let's go out to the Atlantic now. Let's talk about that next tropical storm. So not a tropical storm at the moment. What we have is a wave that we've considered significant enough to most likely form into a tropical storm over the next 5 to 7 days. 70% chance for tropical storm development in the next 7 days. I'm going to say 5 to 7 days here. We've got a really good chance, but we've got to get some of this dust out of the way first. Here's what we've got. We've got a big plume of dust coming from the Saharan desert that's traveling off of Africa and into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. What that's doing is that's suppressing the development for a tropical storm in this area. So while that's suppressed right now, we do think that this, as it clears up later on this week and into the weekend, will give us a better chance for tropical storm development. Once that happens, our next named storm on the board is Gabrielle. So you could be looking at the very early developments or early stages of Gabrielle right now. And we expect hurricane season to continue. We expect it to continue to be pretty active. Our average number of named storms for every season is about 14. Last year we overperformed there, but we do expect it to be at least average, if not a little above average again this year. So right now we're at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 named storms, Gabrielle being the 7th. So we expect about 12 named storms at least this year. So we still have a long time in our hurricane season to go. Right now we're still technically on the rise for hurricane activity. There's today. Our usual peak in hurricane season is September 11th or 12th, and then we start to see our activity calm down after that. But I mean, last year, September, October, that was our most active month. So don't count hurricane season out yet, because I think that we still have a lot of activity left to come. All right, let's also talk about the big cool down that we've been having. Who's been enjoying this nice cool weather? I've been enjoying this fall weather. For now, I'd like to see summer make a little bit of a return, but that's just my personal preference. Cooler weather is coming in with this cold front that's going to bring us storms today and tomorrow. So you're going to see these blues and purples that signify 10, 20 degrees below average continue to make their way into the U.S. That's going to continue through the Midwest all the way through the plains, not only today, but also through the end of the work week. So we're talking about temperatures in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, depending on where you are throughout the U.S. It's going to be a very, very nice and fall-like next few days. Seasonably cool for this time of the year. So will that continue? It looks like it will. All the way through the second week of September, it looks like temperatures are likely to stay below average for a good portion of the U.S. We're talking about the plains all the way to the Midwest. And then we've also got some warmer weather farther out to the west, which is what we're experiencing right now. Drier weather also for the Midwest, and we've got more rainfall coming for the west coast, which I believe, especially with that surge of moisture that's moving in through the weekend. And there's your forecast today. I don't think that we had any weather questions today. Some people watching from Nebraska this afternoon. Thanks for joining us, Yanni from Nebraska. We appreciate you guys hopping on here. Let us know where you're watching from. We like to tailor our forecast to who is watching right now. We'll make sure that we're back here with that updated Kansas forecast for tomorrow. Kansas City, a hail risk for tomorrow. We'll be talking about it. Join us back here at noon. But in the meantime, we'll of course be posting all kinds of weather information on our social media. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or give us a call for a hail, wind, or tornado map at 855-334-4245, or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information. All right, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow.